the year 2028, one Big Mac will equal $1 million. From the Gospel of John McAfee. Bro, just learn to code. The Project Freedom Podcast.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh, or as you probably know me, Elif Program, and I'm here to talk to you about Developer Direction. What is Developer Direction, you might ask? We are the ultimate IT network and training academy. Ever heard of Fight Club? Yeah, it's kind of like that, but with more computing power. We teach and give courses just like boot camps, but that's not all. We help people actually get jobs, unlike colleges, and we help people get better jobs with better pay and a better life. Here at DD, you don't get grades because your performance is reflected upon by how good you're doing in the real world. You won't accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt because we offer a one-time yearly fee that's a fraction of that price. And you won't be wasting your time learning about the latest and greatest social trends because you'll be too busy learning about the latest and greatest trends in the tech and IT market. From courses to networking to problem solving to teaming up together on projects, giving and receiving mentorship, we've got it all. So whether you're a beginner who knows nothing about code or tech, a college student, or a 50-year vet, we got you covered. So head on over to developerdirection.com. We got one of our favorite courses, Blockchain Fundamentals, updated for everything that's going to be the latest and greatest in blockchain technology for 2022. Check it out. Sign up for the mail list if you want to keep up with our latest and greatest. Boom, baby. We are live. Welcome back. I'm Josh. Elif Program. As always, guys, I hope you guys are doing good tonight. I'm late a little bit, 10 minutes, because I was on Ryan from Elevate Cyber's show. And yeah, we were talking about basically what we're going to be talking about right now over there. I don't know. This is like not the newest news, guys, because this was a couple days ago. But if you guys weren't aware, essentially several different cryptocurrency companies, well, it was really exchange companies, their executives had to testify against Congress. You know, the old people yell at Bitcoin meme stuff. And I thought it'd be good to go over this tonight because, you know, after all, we've been on the blockchain topic for quite a bit. And we have the blockchain course enrollment closing on this Sunday. So it's crazy because, like, there's so many people who just don't understand this stuff at all. And, you know, it's primarily older people, which, you know, that's to be expected, right? But this is an industry that is growing literally faster than the internet was growing back in the 1990s. Okay. Just like to let that set into perspective, guys. Like if you think about, so I was born in 91. And if you think about the difference between just then and now with the internet itself and technology, it is insane. It's unprecedented, right? So like, considering all that considered, if you guys aren't familiar with Moore's Law, as time goes on, as computers get better and better and better, the rate and the velocity at which technology evolves is just going to continue to just increase, right? In fact, Moore's Law has been updated several times because it's just basically broken, guys. It's broken because we have exceeded the expectations of Moore's Law. And again, a lot of people don't understand this stuff because there's really there's not a lot of places that you can go to get information. There's very few, at least like boot camps or stuff that let's talk about, or I will talk about my course. I don't know. I literally don't know anyone else in the whole world that is doing a live, not in person, but webinar, interactive course to teach that kind of stuff. But there is kind of stuff like out there, like on Udemy and like DAPU, I believe. But it's still so early that I don't even know anyone else is doing the same thing that we're doing. So put that in perspective. And I'm not just saying that to just like put information for my course out there. I've been doing that alone, like already. I'm saying that to put things in perspective. Like, I don't know anyone else on the planet, I could be wrong, who is doing something like that, right? So you got to think, how many people out there don't understand this stuff, let alone just like the underlying base, the most basic part of the technology that would be required to understand in order to, be a part of this in the future. And when you think of that, you think that we have some people who are essentially like boomers and older who are trying to like make laws and regulate this industry, right? So if we were to go back when the internet was in its inception, let's just say that they pretty much regulated it into oblivion, and that we were in the United States, we just didn't really have internet. Do you guys think that? Do you think we would be where we are right now as a country? Or literally insert country name here. Do you think that country would be where it is if it didn't have full access to the internet? You guys can probably think about some, maybe like North Korea, perhaps kind of a third world-ish type country where you literally eat the bugs, just like Klaus Schwab's wants us to. So it's kind of scary to think that people are out there trying to regulate this stuff who don't understand it, right? So what I would like to do is, I haven't watched all this. I wanted to watch this and comment on it with you guys. And let's see how good of a job these executives did, or bad of a job they did, with explaining this stuff to people. And let's see how much or how little these people in these House lawmakers, excuse me, I said Congress. I thought they did testify in Congress. Anyway, let's see how well these politicians, for lack of a better word, understand this stuff. I'm going to venture and guess that they don't understand it very much at all. But hey, I could indeed be wrong, guys. I could indeed be wrong, and they could know this very, very well. So let's see. And also, guys, lately I've been having a problem with like turning on another page or another tab and like losing my audio. So if either this video's audio isn't coming up, or you guys just don't hear me, like freak out in the chat and cause a scene, okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Central bank digital currency and what it...
Oh, and by the way, this is this isn't the whole event because the thing was like 4 hours long. This is Bloomberg's quick takes. So I guess their quick take ends up being 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're obviously not going to sit through this whole thing, but I believe that some of the fluff is cut out here. So yeah, keep that in mind, guys. So it just started rolling in 2 seconds, and they're already talking. They're already mid-conversation. All right.
Advantages does a stable coin offer that a digital dollar, say at the Fed, would not be able to offer?
Thank you, Congressman Barr. I'm happy to.
Talking about stable coins.
Is that stable coins are operational and growing in the market today, and they're built on an open internet technology model. So when we think about all of the things that we've seen built on the open internet, on these open protocols and networks, whether it's ubiquitous information exchange, communications, interaction around the world, that same open internet model is the foundation for stablecoins. And so I think that's a fundamental difference. A CBDC, which is a concept right now, it's not operational, very likely be a very closed loop technology that's tightly administered and run by the government. And would
of course
likely be accessible in the same way that these open networks are accessible. And so I think that's a critical difference. But I would come back to the most important, which is that most payment system innovations in the world have been driven by the private sector. And I think what's taking place today with digital currency is no different.
Could stablecoin in your product, could it address some of the concerns about China's advances in terms of, and the threat that China's advances pose to sanctions enforcement and protecting the dollar as the world's reserve currency?
I think so, yes. I mean,
there's more stable coins in US dollar than there literally is anything else. So I guess this dude probably doesn't know that, but
back to this, and I'll try and make this point concisely. The United States and the US dollar is winning the digital currency space race today. dollar stablecoins are doing trillions of dollars of transactions.
Thank you.
The experimental beta of a Chinese yuan, which is government controlled in China, has done $10 billion of transactions. So the United States is winning. This has potential to grow at a very significant speed around the world and benefit the U.S. dollar and benefit American businesses and households. And so I think that's one really, really critical thing to understand. And I think,
and guys, we've talked about that on my streams before, right? Like, they hate it so much, but they don't understand that all these, not just stable coins, but all these other cryptocurrencies. In fact, you know, pretty much none of them are a currency, right? So that name is they're. I've also said before, digital assets. They should be called digital assets. The fact that the majority of them are bartered with, bought, sold, whatever, in U.S. dollar or in stablecoin, which is a denomination or denominated in the U.S. dollar. Like, if anything, that helps the dollar as opposed to hurting it, right?
the primacy of this infrastructure and the development of this infrastructure, it is a strategic national security and national economic priority for the United States, and we need to get going on it right now.
Thank you.
Right now.
Any other questions as well, but my time has expired. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very
Go back.
much. The gentleman from California, Mr. Vargas, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate very much you bringing this to our attention. Appreciate the ranking member, everyone participating today, especially the witnesses. One of the things that's been interesting, I've heard a lot of very high and noble motives that I think I don't want to misquote people, but I've heard that the digital asset world, the open internet model is for all people in the world, it's easier, cheaper.
Jesus.
Open, free market data.
Like, okay, all right, hold on, I got to say something about this. So these are politicians from the United States government, right? Look at they're discussing something that maybe they don't know or understand, or they don't know this is the case, that if they make the wrong decisions here, it could literally cripple us 10 years from now and turn us into a third world country. And look at this dude's camera and his microphone. Like, this dude's using like I don't know, 720p max camera, and he's got, I don't even know if people could even hear him clearly on the microphone. I mean, this podcast isn't the best podcast in the whole world yet, right, guys? But like, at least you guys can clearly hear me most of the time and see me, right? That's just sad. The fuck? Could they not get better equipment with our tax dollars, or what?
It's transparent, reduces risk, not increases risk. It's less friction in the marketplace. These things are all great, but it's interesting that most of the people that I know that have invested in cryptocurrencies, not because of that, it's because they think they can get rich quick, and the appreciation of Bitcoin is something that they want a part of. It's not because of all these other wonderful things that the internet can do. It's not the reason at all. Secondly, it's interesting when I asked them, well, you know what cryptocurrency and digital assets and Bitcoin, what it actually is? Most of them say, no, I just know that, make a lot of money and I want to invest and I want part of it. I want to be able to invest. And I know that.
I don't know. I think the people that don't know are probably the ones that are getting absolutely murdered and destroyed, because a lot of people are, because they're dumb, right? They'd rather stick their money in Cum Rocket or Dogelon Mars as opposed to just, like, I don't know, a basic layer 1 protocol.
Now, we've seen this before, unfortunately, and it led to, I think, a financial crisis around the world when you were investing in derivatives and other things that people didn't know what the hell they were investing in, and then it became very problematic. So I do see the risk in this. Now, I have to say, when this was a B problem or a B issue, a $1 billion problem, didn't seem as such a big deal. But now that it's become a $1 trillion issue, and I do think it's challenging the supremacy of the dollar around the world, I do think it's potentially a big problem. I do have concerns.
But don't worry about the big problem that your state of California has of having people literally taking shits on the street. Don't worry about that. Let's worry about this.
I want to follow on to what Mr. Barr said. The issue of the dollar being the reserve currency, this seems it does challenge it. Does someone want to comment on that?
And also,
If not, I'll pick
also, God forbid the dollar. God forbid the United States physically force, and enforce every other country in the world to use its currency to buy and sell oil with. God forbid that, right, guys? That would just be like the worst thing ever if we didn't invade and destroy countries for the ones who didn't choose to do that. Yeah, that would be a shame, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, guys?
on somebody.
I'm happy to comment, Congressman. I
Yes.
wanted to respond to a couple things in your comments. I would agree with the fact that there are passerbys, and then there are people who are actively building and who are very, very close to the technical innovation. And I think like investments in technology companies or in other businesses that we see in the stock market, you have people who are investing because they think it's a business or a product that might go up. They may not understand the details of a given pharmaceutical company's science, but they believe that perhaps
That's a good point.
It's an area of innovation and they want to invest in it. And so I do agree that there is that distinction. But I think it's certainly incumbent on all of the industry participants to ensure that there's great amount of disclosure, financial literacy around these products. But more importantly, coming back to the comment about the dollar, I think there is this growth in digital assets as a new kind of asset class. And I think what's important to note is understanding those in contrast to fiat currencies. Many of the digital assets, in fact, I think the overwhelming majority of the digital assets are commodities that have utility, that are used to power some kind of technology network or protocol, more thought of like an oil or gas than a fiat currency. So they exhibit those properties, and I don't think those will ever rival the dollar. I think they'll grow in value because they're utilized to help facilitate all kinds of activity on these Web3 applications and networks. And I do believe that with innovations like stablecoins and dollar digital currencies, we could actually see a dramatic amount of growth in the use of the dollar globally.
I'm gonna reclaim my time just for a second, because one of the things that I see is that we do have we have the digital dollar already. I mean, the digital dollar can do all the things that you're talking about today, with the exception it is a fiat currency that wouldn't be as easily manipulated by some nefarious group, because it wouldn't be controlled by the Fed. And
it wouldn't be as easily manipulated by some kind of nefarious group because it would be controlled by the Fed, the most nefarious group on the planet. Wait, what? Yeah. I mean, so if you know anything about crypto, you know that it has almost nothing in common with the dollar, right? So he's saying that what's the difference? We already have a digital dollar. How does that? So I mean, just guys, and I don't mean to be rude to Mr. California over here. Well, other than the fact that the people in his state are pooping on the ground and they can't seem to get that under control, but I'm sure that's a different problem for a different day, right? This guy really doesn't. He obviously really doesn't know much at all about this stuff. If he thinks that they're basically identical, right? I would say so. And also the comment that the guy said about how they're more like most of these are more of like an oil or a gas used to power the protocols. I think that was a good comment, because like this is you know what this is? This is like when you discover something new in your life and you can't understand it, you can't explain it really yet, and you're trying to box it in to all these things that you already know and try to compare it to, but it's just so new that you can't literally box it in anything. Like I would say, yeah, it's definitely like a whole new asset class, right? Because it has properties from almost every single different asset class, but it also has differences as well, right? So it's like they can't box it into something particular. And all these older people and all these politicians that don't get it, well, they just don't get it. They're not that guy that just gets it. They just don't get it.
United States of America. I mean, I do have great apprehension that you have these cryptocurrencies that are used by drug traffickers or used by people trafficking other human beings, and there's no good way to control it. So I'm all for digital currency, but why not the dollar?
Well, I mean, it, has anyone here ever bought weed? I have, in a video game, not in real life, of course, right? But like, do people buy drugs in crypto or in cash? Do people traffic? People do human traffic? You think people can't pay for human trafficking with cash? It actually is traceless, and like the whole point of the blockchain is that all those transactions are clear and open for everyone to see, and they don't go away. They exist forever, right? So hopefully this guy takes blockchain fundamentals course so he can understand this a little bit better. Rio in the hoose saying good evening, dude. Sorry guys, I forgot about you guys in here. I'm still kind of felt like I was midstream because I hopped off of Ryan's stream and into this one. Kyle W saying yes. Wade Emery says yeah. Thursday stream. Yep, indeed. Alex, howdy. Like the video, y'all, says Christian Show. You guys better fucking like the video. Please do it. Please like the video, guys. Reminds me of when they wanted to regulate derivatives. They didn't. Yeah. Yeah, it is just like that, isn't it? Understand them. You're breathing hard in the mic? Okay. Oh, sorry. I'll stop. Or was it the other guy in the video? I don't know. It's probably me. Tom D says, quote, try protecting the public, end quote. And then, quote, easily manipulated, end quote. And up V, digital dollar question mark. Yeah, okay. So basically, like, all the dollars that most, not all, but a majority of the dollars we have in circulation, they're digital, right? That's because when they quote unquote print money, they don't physically print as much as they create. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet. And also partially because of fractional reserve banking. So if you give your bank $100, they can loan out $1,000, and basically your $100 is like that collateral. They only have 10% of the collateral. So most of our dollars are basically digital. Like if you just went to one small branch, not even small branch, big branch. I've talked about this on my stream before, right, guys? When I told you guys last time, Jonathan MLD came and visited this previous, it was either May or June. We went to Regions and we went to go cash a check, and it was not the largest. It wasn't the smallest size check in the whole world, but it wasn't the largest either. And that it was the Regions Bank in Brickell, Miami, a large and not money scarce area of the city, and they didn't have it. They didn't have that much money. They didn't have that much cash in the bank. So like, I can almost guarantee you guys, if every person that had an account at whatever their local branch was in that little area tried to go and cash out, probably within the first hour, honestly, guys, it'd probably be within the first couple people, but definitely within that first hour, that bank would be out of cash for sure. So that's what they mean by it's digital. Like pretty much all of our dollars are digital nowadays, to be quite honest. Give up our sovereignty. Well, we wouldn't have to give it up, right, Alex? I would say that would make us more sovereign. Sam Paczynski says, boom. Yes, boom. Eli says, I buy lots of drugs with USD and video games too. Yeah. Right? Like who's gonna give a drug dealer Bitcoin? If you do, you're dumb. Tom D says the reasons against crypto are the same reasons of what is happening with fiat for the last how many hundreds of years. Yes. Good point, man. Good point, Tom. Isn't USD already the currency most used for money laundering? Yeah. Yes, it is. Because it's basically the world's reserve currency, right? So like big freaking duh, you know. Eli says not selling my video game cryptos. A better solution would be to ask, where do you think crypto will take us if implemented? And then discuss the differences and nuances. But of course, that undermines the narrative. Yeah. Got it, and up.
Why can't the dollar be the digital currency? Why can't we once again dominate not 60, 80%, but maybe even higher with a digital dollar? That to me makes much more sense. And it's much more protected and people won't have the risk. But anyway, I yield back my time, but I did find this a very interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Williams, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a small business owner in Texas and still own those businesses. I'm a car dealer and a former professional baseball player. And when I'm trying to wrap my head around a new topic like cryptocurrencies, I try to relate it back to something I understand, like baseball or business. Now, some of you may know this, but modern day baseball can really be attributed to Babe Ruth. He brought in the live ball era of the time and introduced power to the baseball diamond. And before this, teams would play small ball that was very conservative, where teams would literally play for 1 run a game. The entire objective was simply to get the ball in play so they could try to steal their way around the base paths. And there was nothing wrong with this old way of playing, but when the White Sox won the World Series in 1906, the entire team had a total of 6 home runs all year. But Babe Ruth came along. Babe Ruth came along and totally changed everything. In 1920, he set the American League record of home runs with 54. To put that into perspective, how fantastic this feat was at the time, the previous mark to be set was by Sock Seabold in 1902 with just 16. This introduced an entire generation of new baseball fans, and for the first time ever, the New York Yankees, over 1 million fans came to see them in a single season. Now, with that being said, many of you are becoming the Babe Ruth in the financial space, services space. You're introducing a blockchain technology to the financial services industry and working to upend the tradition and the traditional way of doing business. And while many economists and so-called experts have been calling on the downfall of cryptocurrency and discounting the future of blockchain technologies, all of you were working tirelessly to create something new in order to bring this new technology to the masses. Unfortunately, it would only take a few misguided curveballs, we'll say, from Washington to undo some of the progress you've all put into this motion. So my first question to you, Mr. Brooks, can you talk about some of the negative consequences that could happen if we take a heavy-handed approach to regulating this developing technology?
We become a third world country.
Well, Mr. Williams, as a long-suffering Dodgers fan, I share a lot of the things you're talking about. And I think the era you're talking about was an era when baseball went from focusing on not losing to an era where it focused on winning. And winning and not losing are not the same thing. So I come back to Mr. Vargas's question a second ago, which I think is the right way to answer your question. You know, Mr. Vargas asked the question of people have the potential to lose a lot of money. These things are volatile, they're risky. How do we protect them from those kinds of issues? There are 2 ways of answering that. One is to prevent as many people as possible from accessing this amazing technology. For example, the way the current legal regime works is certain kinds of assets can only be purchased by accredited investors, meaning rich people. So the only people who can get rich on this are people who are already rich.
Kind of like everything else so far in history, right?
Make sure that only the richest can access it. Another way of addressing it would be to make it safer the way that we made equities safer 40 years ago, right? We created mutual funds, diversification, sector funds, and other things that make it easier for regular Americans from places like my hometown in Colorado to buy equities without having to be stock experts. Strangely, in the US, we've refused to do that so far. So we don't allow crypto mutual funds. We don't allow people to diversify the way that they do in Canada, Germany, Singapore, the United Arab Emirates, and a series of other regulated economies around the world. So I would argue the way to win is to bring more people into the system more safely, not to keep them out at their own peril.
Second question, we often hear that.
You don't say. Yeah, this definitely small town Southern man right here. Alex, is this the Senate Banking Committee? Let's see exactly what this is. So this is, let's just read the description. Chief executives of major cryptocurrency firms stepped into the glare of congressional scrutiny for the first time on Wednesday, testifying at a hearing that could help further legitimize the burgeoning industry that showed the difficulties officials face in policing digital coins. I think that was worded kind of strange. Leaders of Circle, Internet Financial Incorporated. It's Circle. It's people that own and create USDC. Not the largest stablecoin, but probably like the one with the most solid reputation. The FTX derivatives exchange, the FTX arena is actually not too far down the street from where I live. Coinbase Global International or Incorporated and other firms endured a battery of questions on how their businesses should be regulated, and the executives answered without getting into controversial arguments. Still, the clear partisan division that emerged between lawmakers showed that I don't think it says exactly who. I don't think this is the banking committee, to be honest with you. Maybe it could be. Look at this comment right here. I trust Bitcoin more than I do fiat currencies due to the risk from fractional reserve banking in the events of a crisis. I'm gonna like that comment. I'm gonna like it.
The crypto industry is the wild, wild west, where
Shoo.
there's no regulation guiding the industry. But as all of you are
Wild,
aware,
wild
that
west,
simply
brother.
is not true. The SEC and the CFTC are the primary federal regulators, and our states also have strict regulations that all of you must be abiding by. So, Mr. Bankman-Fried, can you discuss the different layers of regulation that FTX must abide by as an exchange, and also in order to uphold customers' deposits in your digital wallets?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Congressman. Putting aside the 190 other
This is
regulatory jurisdictions that we
sporadic
take part in,
genius
and
right
the
here.
dozens of licenses that we are acquiring each month in all of those. In the United States, there is the sort of state-level money transmitting license regime with money service business and MTLs, which we and many others are part of for any merchant or financed or derivatives transactions in the United States. There is a CFTC regime where there's licensure required to offer those products. For any products that might be security as a digital asset, there doesn't exist a current very clear pathway for it, but that would be an SEC registered regime for it. Obviously, there's been lots of discussions about additional registered regimes for stablecoins and other assets as well.
Thank you. I think my time is up, Madam Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you very much. The gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Caston.
Sam Bankman-Fried. That's a true hyper-intelligent, shadowy supercoder right there, guys.
Committee on Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I came up vastly before I thought I was going to, which means that you'll have to humor me for my ill-formed thoughts. I really appreciate our witnesses coming here, and I also feel terrible for you, because we could have an entire hearing on stablecoin, we could have an entire hearing on blockchain, we could have an entire hearing on CBDCs, I suppose, and we could probably have an entire hearing on whether or not things that have forced scarcity
Adderall bottles, yeah, maybe.
Except that I think we resolved that 100 years ago, but we still sort of need to debate it periodically. All that said, I want to start just focusing on stable coins, if I could. And Mr.
Focus
Blair,
on those
I
stable
wanna
coins, man. Come
start
on.
with you, and I'm sure you've seen the Presidential Working Group's report. Raising all sorts of issues with stable coins, primarily around do they really look like money, right? Do they have sufficient reserve assets behind them? What are the redemption rules? Is there transparency around permission blockchains? The custody of reserve assets. You've read the.
It's funny because we were just talking about fractional reserve banking, right? In fact, the commenter in this video said that he trusted Bitcoin more than the current financial system because of fractional reserve banking. Tether has been audited like more times than anyone can count. I know USDC has been audited, and it appears that they actually have physical backing for their stablecoins. However, we just explained how they don't even have enough physical backing for the dollars in the banks due to fractional reserve banking, right? So, like, so far, guys, it seems as if every question that they ask is really just exposing one, well, how little these they know, and two, just exposing the bad side of our current system, right? Actually, guys, if any of these guys are your lawmakers or your politicians, give them a link to my course. Tell them I will let them in the course for free. Actually, I'll let any politician in the course for free. How about that? Seriously, though, in all seriousness, Rio says, the concept of the Bitcoin was developed with the idea of thermodynamics in mind. Yes. Which the current system lacks conservation of energy. Yes. Proper measurement of your labor, goods, and service. Yep. Yeah, which is like the exact opposite of what like the fiat currency does, right? Literally the exact opposite. Tom says it must be hard being the smartest in the room. Yep. Probably. Sam is probably definitely the smartest person in that room for sure. Ty Bo in the host says, howdy, everyone. Howdy to you too, my friend. Good to see you in here tonight. Come and get your education. Rio says, I think it's way beyond their understanding. Yeah, because I mean, they probably don't even understand 100% like the regular financial system, which actually, if they were to learn this stuff, it would actually help them understand it a lot better. But and then you say, I think they need to be re-educated and updated on what money and value is. Yeah. Alex says, there you go. There you go, indeed.
The report, I'm sure I see you nodding, could go on. First question is just really simple. Do you support the recommendations of that report for stablecoins?
So I support a number of things, but not uniformly. I think there are a number of challenges with the report. I think the first maybe to discuss is really this question of what form of federal charter ought to be in place around a large-scale dollar stablecoin issuer. I think the report recommends that it would be an insured depository institution. But I think one of the really critical things to discuss there is an FDIC-insured bank is FDIC insured because the bank is taking risk with deposits. And
Yeah,
so,
and if I could, and I'm apologize to get you off, but I want to just narrow sort of specifically to the issue of if I deposit something in a bank that is indexed to $1 and I perceive as a customer that I've eliminated the FX risk, right? But now I'm left saying, is it actually there when I want it and now there's sufficient service? Setting aside how we get it done, broadly speaking, are you supportive of the
Let's forget
idea
about
that
how
this
we
is
get it
going to
done.
Look and feel and attract investors with the expectations that this has all the risk and liquidity profiles of $1, that we should make sure that it actually has those features?
absolutely. So full reserve, disclosures, transparency, I think definitions around what those reserves are and the liquidity mandate on it, those are all really critical features that need to come in place. If it's full reserve, is it an FDIC insured product or is it a statutory set of constraints around what the reserves are? So those are some of the things that I think have to be worked through.
And I want to get to two.
Spark 55. Imagine a politician actually understanding crypto. Yeah, I can't imagine that. It would be too hard to do.
More questions, so apologize if I'm being quick, but in the absence of those protections being in place, it seems to me that somebody who is currently holding a stable coin perceives that they are holding a currency, but in reality is holding something that is subject to a lot of exogenous risks beyond their control, which feels a lot more like a commodity. So if we agree that as of right now, it's not really a currency, would you also be supportive of saying, well, we should regulate it as a commodity until such time as we have the protections in place to give it the robustness of a currency that the market is expecting of it?
So I don't agree with that, but I think it raises a couple of key points.
I wouldn't agree with that either.
So
I definitely don't
the
think that
first
it's a
is, and I can
currency.
almost really speak on behalf of Circle here. USDC, for example, operates under the same stored value electronic money and electronic money transmission statutes that govern Square and Stripe and PayPal and the balances there. So today, there are consumer protections. There are reserve requirements around holding of those assets, one-for-one redeemability, anti-money laundering requirements, surety bonds that need to be posted to protect consumers, segregation of client funds in and for benefit of customer accounts. So there's a great deal that's there. And we have operated under such statutes really since 2014. We're the first company to go and get all those licenses. So there is a framework today. I think as these get larger and are operating at a global scale, I think really does there need to be something more that's more bespoke to this?
Let me, if I could, I'm just nervous watching the time here. Let me sort of get to the last question, leave it to the whole panel, and if we're out of time, we'll follow up separately. The concern I have is that a stable coin at some level is an ETF, right? And we could imagine a stable coin indexed to all sorts of different currencies and some kind of baskets of currencies that are behind there. And we regulate those in certain ways with expectations of who is bearing the risk, to Mr. Perlmutter's question. We have this emerging world of central bank digital currencies, and I'm satisfied that no central bank wants to allow counterfeiting. They all want to protect the integrity of their currency. And so
Yep,
those
lots of
in place. On
integrity
the
to
other hand,
protect right there.
different countries are going to have very different ideas about what kind of data they would like to track when we trade a central bank digital currency. And so, a question for any of you who feel technically competent to answer this: if you have a stable coin that includes some portion of central bank digital currencies that are tracking things that we as Americans would not like to track, can we design the stable coin to insulate the contamination of that system so that somebody who believes that they are buying something that looks like $1 is not actually being tracked by our adversaries? Anybody like to comment on that?
One quick
It's a good question, actually.
One of the benefits of this technology is
Tell them.
Stable coins, all of the code that they provide and how they interact is all public and open source. And so everything that functions inside of that is visible to everyone that interacts with it. And so there is the ability to have, I think, greater transparency into how are these things functioning, including a foreign issued coin.
I'm out of time, but I do have some.
Wow. See, they did it again. Every time they try to like ask a probing question, not only did these people have an answer that they explain amazingly, that question, it's really just them. Like it's kind of like they're just holding up a mirror. Like it's just exposing the flaw of the other side of the current financial system, right? Guys said it point blank clear. Like, and this is something I've said many times, like when you have the code for something like a stable coin, whether it's an ERC20 or SLP20 or whatever network it's running on, that's smart contract driven, like you can see the code. It's publicly visible for everybody to see. So like we can have the utmost assurance that like if something is sus, everybody can see it. Nobody's going to use it, right? What about the other side? You guys go and see the Fed's code? Can you see your bank's code? No, right? In fact, if you were to ask for that, someone would look at you like you're a crazy person, you know? Max says, isn't USD subject to a lot of exogenous risk? Yeah, I believe so, right? Lies. Imagine when magic internet money becomes a major stable coin and they have to seriously talk about it in Congress. Dude, I was thinking about that when I was getting ready for the stream. I was like, I wonder if they talk about MIM in here and how it's like you could just make a meme coin that has a better financial policy than like the United States dollar. It's ludicrous, literally ludicrous. Audit the Fed then. That's a good point, Rio. Exactly. Audit the Fed then. Audit the Fed. That's fair, right? We don't have any problem with them auditing smart contracts. They can go and audit them once every minute they want to. That's the code's open for everyone to see, right? Tom says, wait until they realize I'll go stables. You know, I don't know for the Fed is operators. Let me see that source code Fed. Oh my gosh, we think alike. Yes, we do. That's why you're in here, man. That's why you're in here. And guys, this one is so long. I do have one clip pulled up over here in a different tab. I guess I want to play this one because I know this was a specific clip for a specific part, and I think that this dude I think that this dude did a great job of explaining stuff. And I thought, you know what? Like, people need to hear this. People need to see that this happens. All right, hold on, guys. Uno momento. Let me actually kill this screen. Kill that one. And let's do, where are you? Where are you, other window? This one. Yeah, boom. All right, let's check this one out, guys.
Let's step back from digital assets and blockchain for a moment. Let's talk about where the internet was, where it's come to, where it's going, right? We're trying to level set here for policymakers. So originally, the internet was a read-only format, in essence. We're consuming information.
Yes.
And then there's additional layers that we place on. It became much more interactive.
Yes.
But counterintuitively, much more interactive, but much more centralized in Web 1, Web 2.
Yes.
We're hearing now
Guys,
is Web 3. Policymakers need to
they're using our terminology now. They're actually using our terminology. You know what that means? Know what that means, guys? That means we're winning. That means we're winning big league.
understand the nature of Web 3. This is a hearing about a component of Web 3. Now, along those lines, what are the characteristics that defined Web 1 and Web 2?
Mr. McHenry, thank you very much for that question. I think that's critical to understanding what we're all trying to build here. So the characteristic of Web 1, if people remember their original AOL account, was an ability to look in a curated walled garden at a set of content that was not interactive, but was presented to you on AOL the way that Time Magazine used to show you the articles they wanted you to see inside of their magazine. Just you could see it on a screen. The innovation of Web 2 was that suddenly you could not only read content, but you could also write content. This is when the blogosphere became a big thing. People remember this from the late 90s, the early 2000s. The reason for the centralization of the internet, of course, was that all of that activity was being monetized by a very small number of companies. Facebook, as the chairwoman mentions, Google, and 2 or 3 other companies. What makes Web3 different is the ability to own the actual network. And that's what crypto assets themselves represent, is an ownership stake
Okay,
in
so
the underlying network.
I was just on Ryan from Elevate Cyber's channel right before the stream, literally just talking about this part right here. So this is important, guys. Pay attention to this, guys. This part's actually important. And yes, Anup, I would also love to see them discuss Abracadabra. That would be the best day of my life. You didn't expect them to go this basic. Well, you got to think, dude, like these people don't even understand the regular internet. So we got to catch them up to speed with that first. And then we got to explain the rest of them, right? Typos, happy fingers. I meant we as people don't understand how the Fed operates exactly. Let's see the balance sheets and the source code of the Fed. That will never happen. That will never happen. The Fed will be gone before that would ever happen. All right. So we know that too, because willing to bet that if that were to happen, people would see some things that they would not like to see, right?
So when you hear people talk about,
pay attention, guys,
layer 1 tokens, what they mean is this is your reward for providing the ledger maintenance services, the computing power to the network that on Web 1 and 2 was done by Google, right? So now people in my hometown of Pueblo, Colorado can actually own the Ethereum network, but they can't own the internet. That's owned by Google and a few other companies. That's what the project of crypto is all about, is allowing people to directly own the networks that have native assets that are supporting it. And that's the nature of decentralization, where the token holders are the people who control the asset,
Okay, so
not
the
Google.
token holders, for our language here on the Hill, those are digital assets, right?
See, they're
Are
using
the
our
keys to open up the ledger.
They're using our terminology now, guys. They're using our terminology. Good sign, right? Good sign. They're caving.
For you to participate, right? So describe to us how those digital assets fit into this internet revolution, Web 3.
So the concept is that you have sort of application layer tokens and you have protocol layer tokens. So if I'm an owner of Bitcoin, let's say that I'm a miner of Bitcoin, somebody who actually creates Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is the reward I receive for doing the work to keep the network operational. And that allows me to own a piece of the Bitcoin blockchain. Or take Ethereum, which is easier to understand. The Ether token represents an ownership stake in the network, but on top of that network are all kinds of apps that get built on the network, much like the apps on your phone depend on the underlying network existing that lets the phone operate. And so people will make judgments about which network is likely to win, and they will invest in the tokens in that network much the same way you might invest in Google stock because you think Google is going to scale access to the original internet. The difference being here, you can vote on what happens in the future of a proof of stake network, for example. You can get rewarded through a proof of work token for maintaining a ledger on something like Bitcoin. But the real message here is that what happens on the decentralized internet is decided by the investors, versus what happens on the main internet is decided by Twitter, Facebook, Google, and a small number of other companies.
Okay, so getting this layer on digital assets.
That was a great explanation. That guy just kicked their butts, to be quite honest with you.
Right. For Congress to understand this, everything is built upon that on-ramp to this new internet. So very important for us to be sensitive to how this develops and any actions we take.
They said on-ramp.
Laws and updating laws to incorporate these new technologies.
Yeah, Mr. McHenry, couldn't agree more. And I think when you hear about all of the problems of different big tech companies, the importance of an owner-controlled network becomes clear.
Okay, owner-controlled network rather than a cooperative, right? And
Yes.
thinking in those terms,
Absolutely.
right? So if you're not a part of management, you're not making a decision in Web 2. If you are a participant in the network, you're cooperating in the making of those decisions.
Exactly right.
So I ask this not to be insulting to the panel, but to have a level set here so we have an understanding of what we're talking about. This is not simply about you on this panel. It is about trillions of dollars of assets that did not exist before Satoshi wrote his white paper 13 years ago. It's about $3 trillion in notional value at this stage around the development of a whole new range, whole new suite of technology that will be developed across the globe, whether or not the United States embraces it and wants to compete, or if it's pushed offshore. So as policymakers, we need to understand what we're talking about here. This is a small panel, important as you may be, a small panel about the discussion about Web3. And so with that, Madam Chair, thank you for having this hearing, and I hope that we can have more understanding about policymakers about these important concepts.
Damn, you boy over here, Mr. McHenry, with the low-key diss right there. Couldn't agree more with him, though. Small panel, doesn't even understand the basics, trying to make a decision about Web3. So do you guys think that they're going to make good decisions about that? Probably not. You think people are going to want to obey the things that they are going to could potentially enact if it's obviously harmful and misleading? But again, the gov would never, and I mean never, make any harmful or misleading enforceable decisions, right? They would. That's never been happening, right? Definitely hasn't happened a lot in recent history, right, guys? Spark 55 says, makes me wonder who really owns and controls Fed. Right? We all know 100% how this stuff works. We can all see 100% of the code. We can all choose to participate in writing the code. We can all choose to participate in the validation of these networks ourselves. Literally, we can do that. You just need 2 gigabytes of RAM, basically, and a machine to do it, right? So you can do it with like a $35 Raspberry Pi. But do any of us get that same chance with the Fed? In fact, do we even know who actually like owns and controls the Fed? Nobody, literally nobody does, right? There's literally no information out there about it, right? Hand up V says rich people own the Fed, I hear, with a period at the end to add to the severity of that sentence, right? Shadowy Fed, exactly. To hell with shadowy supercoders. Like, the Fed is way more shadowy. Rio says they don't care. All that means is less power for them and more power for the people. Right. I think that's already been like 100% obvious and apparent to like anyone who has eyes to see, right? So just don't worry, be happy. Max, first you take over their language, then you take over their culture. Yep. Good signs, guys, right? Good signs. Good signs. Are they afraid to let the Greeks run things? I think so, Alex. I think so. They have the plan all laid out. You will own nothing and be happy. Well, you guys aren't going to be one of those people because y'all are my audience and you guys are intellectuals at heart and you have free thinking minds and you have eyes that aren't clouded by the fog and the smug of society. So yeah, I mean, I would, you know what, guys, I'm going to put this, let me put the link for the, I'll put the link for the Bloomberg's like 2.5 hour one since it's like compressed in the chat. If you guys actually want to like speed through this on your own, there's a lot of other good parts in there from my understanding. And, you know, they have like little clippets of it here and there too, but it's obvious that guys, that these people don't know diddly squat about this kind of stuff. Right. So, you know, if you don't understand how the technology works and you're going to put regulations on it, do I need to finish that sentence, guys? Do I need to finish that sentence? Like I said, contact your local politicians and tell them that I will allow them to join the blockchain fundamentals course for 100% free, just to help aid the future of our nation. Seriously, I'm actually serious. I think that would be fucking hilarious. Somebody get a politician in here. They can for sure join for free. Any politician, tell them to go to developerdirection.com. Click on this guy right here, blockchain fundamentals course. Not only can they learn all the understanding or have a complete total understanding of the fundamentals, the technology underlying this kind of stuff. If they really want, they can make their own ERC20 token as well. And maybe give it to their voters or something. Who the hell knows, right? Who the hell knows? But yeah, you guys too. The enrollment's going to be closing on Sunday, so hop in. I know I had a lot of people message me that haven't signed up for it yet. So get in before it's gone because I'm probably not going to do this course again till like. This is the longest course that we have, guys, and this is the second time this year we're doing it. So like, it's hard for me to do this course, so I'm probably not going to do it until like at least halfway through next year. So you're interested in it, you want to potentially get a job in this industry. We got people who have been there, taken the course and accomplished it. And we have a lot of professionals in the group as well who are going to help you out with a lot of that stuff too. So sign up, guys. If you are interested in it, tell the politicians to sign up too, or tell them to just DM me. I'll let them in for free. 100%. Nothing new. Yep. You're right, Tom. Call your local politicians and ask them who is the advisor on their staff of this subject, and then find out if they know anything. Probably not. That's what I'm saying. Give them the link. Tell them to DM me. Tell them to email me. josh@elifprogram.com, info@developerdirection.com. Damn, they can have my phone number if they want. 100%. They can have my phone number if they want. Well, let's get them in there, guys. Let's get these people up to speed with everything. But yeah, guys, that's all I have for tonight. I do indeed love you all. As always, I'm out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another stream. Later.